Welcome to the Bookers Alliance podcast, where we hold the pencil and the pencil is power. Coming at you right now is your host, Marky Mark, along with the man, the myth, the legend, Frank Donaldson. Join us as we discuss the ever-changing landscape of professional wrestling. So hang on tight, you jabronis, and enjoy the ride. Welcome in, everybody. Thank you for joining today's episode of the Bookers Alliance podcast. Come on in, grab yourself your ringside seat, your popcorn, your cognac glass.
This week we're grabbing a cognac. The drink of choice is cognac.
That's correct.
It is the yak.
And if all you fine ladies out there in the ballpark tonight would meet me at the nacho cart
and bring a bottle of yak, it'll be okay. Not necessarily Cavassier, but Douce, but cognac nonetheless.
As you
so we
can
gonna
tell,
have a suave and debonair kind of night tonight.
A demure
kind of night.
As you can tell who our sponsor is today.
All right.
We are happily drinking, and what do you say? We toast to the ladies, man.
Yeah, well, we got a lot of toast today.
Tim Meadows.
Apparently, we forgot to toast the SmackDown's last episode on Fox last week.
True. So
we forgot to toast Raw going down to 2 hours instead of 3 hours. So we got to toast that last hour of that.
Goodbye to that final hour.
Yep. I mean, Dom's marriage, still on the rocks.
Still on the rocks.
Just like my drink, still on the rocks.
Hanging in there.
Yep. But I mean, he much like the ladies, man. Dom must have been taking notes because he done watched that show, and now he's a ladies man.
Cheers to you.
Cheers.
Good old cognac.
Nice and smooth there.
Nice and smooth.
No bite.
Been a while since I've had some cognac.
There you go.
Good
Here
stuff.
at the Bookers Alliance, we gonna broaden them horizons. We gonna get a little bit of everything.
All right, so talking about everything, let's talk about everything for a moment.
Everything.
But we got to get our title out of the way first. Let's talk about 99 problems, but did AEW create one?
Seems like it. I mean, a lot of people had a lot to say coming out of the All Out pay-per-view last weekend. So
some people couldn't say anything because their head was trapped in a plastic bag.
I mean, some people's mouths were, put to sleep. Novocained up, so they couldn't even speak without drooling. So
yeah, we'll get into
going
that.
On.
We'll get into that, but we got to talk about some things happening in the current world of WWE real quick. Got a lot of moving and shaking going on.
A whole lot of moving and shaking. A whole lot of things going on.
You got SmackDown moving to USA.
The week of Raw. The week of WWE. We're in WWE week.
You got NXT finishing up their USA run, but they'll be moving to CW soon.
To the CW, which somehow that's broadcast television, but yet they don't promote it like they did going to Fox.
So the reason for that is because technically it is broadcast television.
Yeah, but CW is the lowest broadcast network.
Right.
Running.
I mean,
they're one shade ahead of PBS.
That's like WG in Chicago.
There you go.
That don't get everywhere.
Yeah, you're right. Most people get it, but everybody ain't.
Everybody ain't gonna get that.
Nope.
So you got that happening. You got Raw going from 3 hours to 2 hours.
What an announcement that was. I mean, for us old timers, hell, that 2 hour Raw, that looks damn good.
Look, I'm hoping they play the 8 to 10 card and not the 9 to 11
Yeah, they
card.
said 8 to 10. They said they're definitely going 8 to 10 because they don't want to lose
10
their...
to 11, that's rough. That's rough.
Yeah,
that's hard.
That's usually when us old timers turn on the news with a full intention of dozing off.
I'm laying in the bed from 10 to 11, looking at my iPad, looking at the back of my eyelids. Who won that match? Let me rewind.
Hell, I'm usually looking at record to make sure that damn DVR is taken because I know I'm missing some of that damn last hour. Some of that last hour is getting picked up the following day.
Yeah, so we got a lot of programming changes happening, but we got some pretty cool matches though, kind of shaping up for Bad Blood.
Yeah,
we've called the match from day one. We're getting the match Hell in a Cell. CM Punk.
Oh
McIntyre.
Yeah. I mean, what else could there be? It's like I think 27th anniversary of the original Hell in a Cell, right in the same time frame. it's a staple of, that fall pay-per-view, kind of like Halloween Havoc used to be for WCW.
Dude, I missed that pay-per-view so much.
Yeah, I mean, so that...
I missed that one.
And Eric Bischoff has said that was their WrestleMania. He actually considered that their tentpole event, whereas everybody else thought it was Starrcade, the granddaddy of them all. Starrcade actually predated WrestleMania.
Right.
Starrcade had started in 83. We didn't get our first WrestleMania at 85, but Bischoff said he didn't put as much emphasis on Starrcade. He said he really put the emphasis on Halloween Havoc because it was sweeps week. He said, Halloween Havoc goes into 1st of November. 1st of November is your sweeps week. And he said, because they were a TBS-owned company, they were more of a television company than a pay-per-view company. He said they tried to wrap up everything at Halloween Havoc, so for sweeps week, they could start something new.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, learn something new every day.
Learn something new.
All right. And have a drink of the Cavassier. Cognac.
Very tasty. Very
there
tasty
you go.
stuff. So
I didn't mean you had to. I was just saying I was, but
hey, I'm not letting my co-host
ain't nothing wrong with that.
Partake in me not partake.
That's what we do when we're out with the ladies. Go out with the ladies and you're having yourself a cognac. You offer your lady a cognac.
So let's talk about real quick how this match may get portrayed. We talked about it as we saw it kind of unfolding. There's not going to be any on top of the cell.
No, those days are done.
I don't think there's going to be.
Especially with Punk. I mean, hell, I'll be surprised if they do anything out of the box with Punk.
I don't think you're going to get any through the cell.
No.
I do think you may get a hardcore match before you even get the two of them in the cell.
Yeah, it'll be a brawl. I think they'll kind of do it like we saw it All Out, where you see a full brawl before the cage comes down.
I don't know. They'll try to sever each other's head, though.
No, they probably won't do that.
That was a little different.
That's pushing it. I mean, WWE still has the younger audience there. Right. I don't know if they'll necessarily. They've done it before, though. I mean, I don't know if you remember Seth trying to go in under the cell one time, and it almost skewered his ass when the pole was coming down.
I do remember that.
And luckily, he paid attention to get out of the way. Otherwise, we really would have had a pay-per-view problem.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been a good.
That would have been 99 problems. Oh, hell yeah, you're full of one. You got and damn to add an extra one.
So, as far as Drew McIntyre and CM Punk, what are they going to do in that cage? They're going to tear each other apart. I do think you've got to get color on somebody. If not both of them, it's a bad blood. It's a hell in a cell. Yeah. It's a blood feud, and this is supposed to be the end of it.
Hopefully, I mean,
if you're gonna blow it off like that, this is it.
Honestly, I feel like this is gonna be the end of a lot of feud. I feel like Bad Blood's gonna be your setup into Survivor Series, which always transitions to the Rumble, which takes us right into WrestleMania season. I feel like it's time to wrap up some of these summer stories. Like Cody and Solo, time to wrap them up. Hangman and Swerve on the other channel. Yep. We're getting a lot of cages here lately, right?
Well,
I mean, we had a cage at the pay-per-view. We got a cage coming up on SmackDown. We're looking at a Hell in the Cell in a couple of weeks. There's a lot of cage going on.
Hear tell that Cody and Solo was slated for Bad Blood. It was supposed to be a Hell in the Cell match between them two. That's
what I figured.
But they decided to transition that match over to SmackDown for that premiere.
Yeah.
So, the SmackDown benefits because of that, but also the other thought is, even though Solo is getting in this, they're saying that for Bad Blood, it actually may be Cody and Jacob Fatu going at each other.
Ooh.
Which would be nice.
That'll be interesting. I mean, I guess it would depend on what happens out of this match, but
I think it comes down to we already know what's happening on the cage match with Solo.
Yeah.
We know what's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Somebody's coming back.
Our OTC is coming back.
Absolutely.
And he's
probably with his wise man.
Right. So if they wanted to do Jacob Fatu and Cody, you don't want to put the belt on Jacob, obviously, even though could that man one day wear that belt? Yes. He could, but this ain't the right time. This ain't the right time. This ain't the right place. But could we also see again Roman coming down to save Cody?
Hey, we saw it before. It happened at SummerSlam.
Yep.
I don't think Roman's beef with Cody supersedes his beef with the Bloodline at this point. I think that's his primary target. Plus, we definitely don't want Roman and Cody locking it up just yet. We got to keep them two, even though they're circling each other's drain. We don't want them to, we don't want them to get together. We want to keep them on the opposite ends of each other. They may live in each other's world, but we don't need them starting their beef again. It ain't time for that.
I think that's Rumble, that's WrestleMania, whichever way The Rock fits into the picture. That's
Lord, can you imagine what the episodes are going to sound like when that starts to unravel? Good God.
It's getting ready to come undone.
Yeah, we better keep the alcohol on tap. We're going to need it.
Let's wander into the match that Rhea and Liv is going to have. I think this will be the blow-off match for their feud.
Yeah.
I also see Rhea.
Speaking of blow-off, either one. Take your pick. Pick your poison on that one.
You set them up.
Hey, it's like when the golf ball's sitting right on the hole, and you're like, oh man,
right on the hole.
Right. All you really got to do is give it one good blow, and it'll find its way in. There you go.
So I feel like Rhea's going to wind up with her belt again. I do think that Liv will continue to chase, but I also think there's getting ready to be some advancements as far as other women in that division starting to challenge for that title.
Yeah. And like I said, another blow. I really think Bad Blood's going to tie up all the summer storylines. Yep. And Liv's run with the title, obviously it wasn't planned with the whole Rhea injury, but it turned into a beautiful surprise, right? We didn't know what we were getting, but they took a whole bunch of shit and made it into great sugar. So
you're also getting Damian Priest versus Finn Balor.
Yep. I don't think that blows that feud off. I think Priest has to stay feuding with the what's the group's name now? I wanted to say
Judgment Day.
Judgment Day. There you go. I think he's got to stay feuding with the Judgment Day for a little while, because I don't necessarily know, from being the champion to feuding with Judgment Day, I don't know where he goes after that. So I think he probably has to stay in that feud with Judgment Day a little bit longer. You see anywhere else he could go?
The only other thing I can think is he's kind of put his chase for trying to regain the championship on hold.
Yeah.
So maybe this is a blow off, and then he goes against Gunther again at Survivor Series.
That could give him a good Survivor Series setup.
Yeah. So, I think right now Cody is tied up in the Bloodline storyline so much that they really can't focus on that championship.
Yeah.
Because even though it seems like the storyline for the Bloodline is turned internal, Cody is still attached.
Cody's still hovering around it.
Hell, for that matter,
anything else bigger to,
for that matter of fact, KO is still attached to it. Randy, not so much. He's not attached to it.
No, so they bounced Randy into Raw, and that kind of disassociated him with it. Even if he goes back to SmackDown, you can separate those stories now because Randy's a long way away.
Yeah.
And I think Randy's got some business with Cody at some point. So, it depends on where they decide to start that. But I don't think that happens until further into maybe later into this year, like holiday season,
right,
or even early next year.
And we're going to get, looks like Jay up against Braun Breaker.
Yep.
Which very cool, but I don't see Braun losing that.
No, I also don't see Jay staying away from the whole Bloodline saga much longer anyway. So I feel like this will be a good run for him to, to challenge for another singles title. WWE wants to be creative. He could lose and just be like, maybe this whole singles thing ain't working out. Maybe I need to go back into tag. And, Jimmy's been gone for a long time, collecting a payday, not working for it. So it's time to bring him back, let him earn his keep. Roman definitely needs some soldiers with him, because we see what happens when he tries to fight all four Bloodline members against himself.
He winds up looking at the lights.
Yeah, he ain't doing that. So Jacob Fatu said, "Oh no, you can beat them other two guys. You definitely beat Solo, but wait a minute,
getting me.
I ain't taking this lay down that easy. You have to whoop me." So
all right, so Mollywop.
There you
go. There could be some other things happening. We don't know yet. We're seeing the tea leaves as far as maybe a triple threat for the U.S. title.
Yep.
That depends on how the whole Andrade Carmelo Hayes match goes on SmackDown.
We got Big Bronson Reed making his return this week, destroying Braun Strowman. My goodness, what kind of feud are these guys having? You want to talk about big men slapping meat?
All I know is I've seen a tsunami on top of a car. I've seen a flying cross body or almost
It's kind of like a this.
almost
press,
like a
wasn't it?
Luthez
Yeah,
press
it's like a this. press.
onto the announce table.
I don't know if Bronson Reed can turn that body in the air. That might be that might be asking a whole lot.
I don't know what else is going to happen between these two guys, but I'm here for it.
Yeah, whatever it is, hell, this is good. Like I said, you want to talk about big men slapping meat?
Yep.
And first of all, you got one big son of a bitch on one side of the ring,
Yep.
and the other side you got big Bronson Reed.
Reed.
This is a big match. This has a big match feel.
Now, how do they screw this up? Put them in some kind of a like
A funky gimmick match.
funky gimmick match.
Well, they could put him in that Four Corners match that you love so much. That would be fun.
No, I don't.
We always love that Four Corners match.
I don't want to see that again ever. All right, so that's what's going on right now in the world of the WWE. A lot of things in play, a lot of good stuff coming up, but we got to talk about our topic. 99 problems, but did AEW create one?
Well, they definitely got a lot of scuttlebutt arising around the wrestling world. That's for damn sure.
So we're going to wander into some territory, but we're going to talk about some things. So if anybody's out there got the little ones listening, might want to either turn the volume down or change the channel and pick it back up.
If you watch the All Out pay-per-view, you know what's coming.
What we're talking about. So,
speaking of wandering into territory, though, how'd you feel for your first trip in Chicago? That was your trip to Chicago to see the pay-per-view?
That was nice.
Or I guess Hoffman Estates for those of us who are local and actually know the Now Arena ain't nowhere near damn Chicago.
No.
But I mean it's in the state, but it damn sure ain't in the city.
That was nice.
Yeah, I mean,
have to take another trip back.
Got to try out some good Chicago food. We had our Polish sausages. We had our deep dish pizza. We had all the tourist food. Next time we go, we're gonna get all the local food, all the stuff you don't see on TV.
Right. So let's talk about this real quick. So first things first, was it the greatest pay-per-view that AEW has ever put on? No.
Absolutely not.
No.
It wasn't bad though.
It wasn't bad. Was it the most out there and outlandish and shock jock ending of matches that they've ever done?
Yeah, they delved into brand new territory here, and I don't know if it's a good thing or not. So I mean, that's why we're doing the conversation, so we can see what our opinions are on it. Get you guys thinking about it. See what your opinion on. Because I mean, obviously, it's a polarizing ass opinion. I mean, when you go to these kind of extremes, you're 50-50 on that. You're going to have half the crowd that's going to love it and give me more. You're going to have the other half of the crowd like, oh my God, turn this shit off. So, I mean, whew.
All right. So first things first, let's talk about what happened with Bryanson.
Yeah, there you go, Bryanson.
We got to talk about Bryanson real
definitely
quick.
That man's nickname. That's a keeper.
So we got to talk about John Moxley's attempt to murder this man.
Yeah.
And legit murder this man, because by the way that you saw him breathing in this plastic bag, that thing was sealed in order for it to you could see it going in and out with his breath. So it was sealed. So
Bryanson, if you looked at it real good, he was holding it at the bottom where his beard was at. Mm-hmm. So I'm pretty sure he got himself a little bit of wind in there. Air. But if you blow hard enough and breathe in hard enough, you can make that bag move. Right. So little look behind the scenes, but I mean, it only takes a slip of the hand to go the wrong way, to whereas you ain't getting no air no more.
So I think also the telltale sign was, and I don't think this was a work, I believe this was the shoot. As soon as they ripped the bag off of his head, they gave him an oxygen mask.
Yeah, which I'm sure he probably
needed it.
But so now to Moxley's defense now, and I know everybody's like, well, wait a minute, I thought you were against this whole thing. I am, but I got to come to Moxley's defense in some of this. Because, I mean, he probably felt like he needed to go to that much of an extreme. Because before that, did you see Bryan Danielson eat that European uppercut that Cesaro threw?
Yes.
Damn, I'm all in the old days, Cesaro and Daniel Bryan. Jesus.
You should call him what you used to call him.
Who's that? Pepperoni nipple? There you go.
There you go.
I mean, everybody called him that at one point in time. That dude has got a weird skin thing going on. But nonetheless,
sponsored by Papa John's.
Absolutely. Load him up. So, but yeah, I mean, so Bryan Danielson, he comes in the ring and eats a European uppercut. Busted Open talked about this, and I mean, they shit all over that spot because, you know what I mean? Out of everybody that's throwing a European uppercut, our friend Cesaro is probably the best of it, right?
He's the heavy.
Yeah, so
when it comes to that, he's the heavy.
When he hits you with one, I mean, Bryan fell to his ass and he looked. But he literally no-sold the hell out of it. Yep. He dropped to his ass and just looked at him like he was stunt. This is the equivalent of if Mike Tyson walks up to you today,
correct,
and slugs you in the shoulder. Let's not even go in the jaw, right? Because that's an automatic knockout. But let's say he hits you in the shoulder, right? You're not just going to shutter your arm back and then eat it and look at him like he's crazy.
Absolutely.
Mike's gonna put that hit on your ass that you gonna hold your arm for a minute and recognize that one of the baddest men on the planet just knocked the shit out of you.
Right.
So when Brian, and I'm just going with Brian because that keeps it even for both. You can't mess it up for that. But when Brian eats it, it's like, well, damn. So if I'm Moxley, I'm like, hell, I gotta murder this guy because apparently he's the Hulk and he can just eat our best shot. So I'm not gonna give him my best shot. I'm gonna go for the kill.
So you're looking at it that way. Here's the way that I'm looking at it. So you got to look at. Everybody knows because of the Blackpool Combat Club. Everybody knows Bryan Danielson, John Moxley, they're brothers.
Yeah.
When it comes to being in AEW together, they're a band of brothers, right?
So far.
So they're a band of brothers. So if I'm going to turn on my brother and I want it to be devastating enough to where I'm going to rock this dude's world by how I'm going to stab him in the back, it's more than just a chair shot. And we know what chair shot we're talking about.
Well, yeah.
It's more than just a chair shot that Seth put on Roman.
Yeah.
This is a plastic bag over the head trying to choke the boy out and leave him lifeless.
Yeah.
So the image of that, think about the imagery that caused right there. Just go back in your head as we were in the arena, the sights and the sounds of what was happening.
Do you remember the gasp that as you saw it happening? Do you remember the gasp of, as you looked around and you saw people that were just shocked and in awe that this was happening?
How impactful was it?
So it was huge for the fact that, obviously it was the dissolution of a faction, but it was impactful on me simply for the fact that it wasn't something that we saw throughout the rest of the night. And I mean, that's a knock that we've had on AEW forever. Is you see the same spots in the same matches all night long. So, you'll see the same finish in literally 3 matches back to back on AEW on occasion. And it's like, oh my God, the hell, did they even have any kind of conversation in the back of like, hey, this is where we're going? Because of what Mox and Brian did, they made sure nobody was going to replicate it, right? There was no way that was going to be overdone spot of the night. But is that because it went too far?
So let's talk about something else real quick. And for your old heads out there, not necessarily the new wrestling fan, but your old heads out there listening, y'all know what I'm going to talk about. Let's talk about a little company that got started by Mr. Paul Heyman called ECW.
Yeah.
All right. So with this company, the words, "Did that take it too far?" never was uttered by anybody.
That was their motto.
Yeah, there was nobody ever uttered that phrase.
That was the company slogan. Let's take it too far.
We're talking about a match where Sabu and Terry Funk were in the ring with each other and the ropes were barbed wire. And by the end of the match, they had to be physically snipped out of the barbed wire because it was wrapped all around them and stuck in their skin.
Yeah.
That was the only way to get them out of the entanglement of barbed wire that they were in.
Yeah, that's
we're talking about a company where New Jack pushed a guy off of a scaffold through 10 tables stacked on top of each other. Uh-huh. We're talking about where the flaming table originated by the Dudley Boys. This is the company that we're talking about. So, in that vein, put that situation that happened between Mox and Bryanson, put that situation in ECW, it's another run-of-the-mill Tuesday night.
Yeah, I mean, that would have happened on an Anarchy Rules or something like that they would have had. That would have been the norm. But that was also 30 years ago. I mean...
And there lies the conversation.
Yeah,
there lies the conversation.
30 years ago, that was uncharted waters, right? Nobody had done it before. Nobody had seen it. It was all brand new and nobody understood the severity of it. 30 years ago, medicine wasn't what it is now.
Right.
Understanding of concussions and things like that aren't what they are, wasn't what it is now. So, and that's going to be a repeating theme throughout this whole conversation.
Right.
30 years later, with us knowing better, do we still do? In some places we may say yay, some places we may say no. For me, this is probably one of the places where I'd say yay, simply because those guys are professionals. They know what they're doing. They know how to work. They know how to quote unquote do it safe with making it look as scary as possible, right? So me saying that it's Mox and Brian, I'm gonna trust that they knew what they were doing and that was a planned spot and that they were safe doing it.
So would you say though that spot in today's time was in poor taste?
The look of it, the aesthetic wasn't wonderful, but again, if you're a lay fan, you're probably not watching AEW. Let's be honest, right?
True.
The people that tuned into the AEW pay-per-view, the people that are going to tune into Dynamite, this week, they're not the casual fan. So because these are the diehards, right? If you're watching AEW religiously, you're a pretty damn diehard. If you knew what you were watching.
There's also a reason why the owner of that company calls its fans sickos.
Yeah.
I mean, they lean
because they
in.
want to be the Wyatt Six.
Maybe
they would like their contracts,
but it's the fact that the AEW programming has caused the AEW fan to lean into those situations because it is AEW is supposed to be the alternative to what you see in the WWE.
Yeah.
So another point that I wanted to bring up real quick before we talk about the second match that builds into this conversation. Whenever you see a match like that that's getting ready to happen, right? Mm-hmm. I knew I'm getting Bryanson and I'm getting Jack Perry. Have I seen Jack?
We had that match. Oh God!
Hold on. Let me get to where I'm going.
We're not going to talk about that.
No, let me get to where I'm going.
Okay.
So had I known, Jack Perry, I know Jack Perry has been damn near set on fire by Darby Allin, right?
Yeah.
All right. So I know Jack Perry has a tendency to get a little wild and crazy in the ring, right?
Okay.
So I'm watching this match with the intent, knowing my 6-year-old was in the room, watching this and going, am I good? Am I in a good space? Am I good? I'm good. There might be some blood, but I'm good.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the ending of the angle. Had she been paying attention, would I have been good?
Yeah, probably.
No.
Not, right? So
no, I would have had Lucy. You got some splaining to do.
Well, so look at that. We flip flopped on the topic, right? Like we both came from kind of where we originated. We're both on opposite sides for this particular angle, but for totally different reasons.
Totally different reasons. But the thing is, though, as a wrestling fan, and I've been long time tenured, we got spidey senses that kind of went up, and we kind of knew what was getting ready to happen. We kind of knew. We saw, Claudio raising these hands.
Well, as soon as I saw Mox out there, interrupting the whole thing, I think the very first thing I said is, "Oh my God, they're changing. They're they're turning."
Yep.
And I remember you looked and said, "You think?" And I'm like, "Why else?" Right? Because we didn't see Mox last week at All In.
Right.
When Brian won the title, we saw the rest of the BCC, but we never saw Mox.
Right.
Now we all of a sudden see Mox. I'm like, of course he's turning. He's got to be turning. I mean, first of all, it's Tony Khan. What else would he do, right? He's got to pick the lowest hanging fruit possible. So, shit, I think Tony picks his fruit up off the ground. I don't even know if he lets it hang no more. He waits till it falls.
It's over,
he's
right?
Like, I need that one. Yeah, let me take that one home.
I.e. Miro.
Poor Miro.
Poor Miro.
God, that poor guy.
He let her get too close to Swerve.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you, dude. I keep telling you, when these women come bumping up against Swerve, we saw that photo shoot a couple of weeks ago. Swerve and the Doctor did a photo shoot. I ain't seen Swerve and Adam Cole and Britt in months.
To the ladies' man.
Yeah, apparently another toast, another relationship down the tube.
All right.
Get him, Swerve.
So let's talk about Swerve's match. So for this match,
so I heard he had his dental work
done. Yeah. So for this match, I knew what to expect.
Yeah. We knew that was going to be off the chain.
We knew because of how these two guys have operated in the ring before. I could not have called the trying to decapitate each other spot.
Yeah, I don't think with the specific spots, no. We knew it was going to be maximum carnage, though, but we didn't know it was going to be till death do us part.
Yeah. So in this match, now, as the dad, I knew what I was getting into in this match.
Yeah, you were prepped for that one.
I knew what to tell my daughter, so she left the room.
Said it was bedtime.
Bedtime.
Bedtime. So I mean, to your credit, though, it was 11:30 by that point. Hell, it was my bedtime too. I just didn't know it.
So I knew what to expect. I knew what was coming. I was actually okay with everything that I saw in that match. And there's no but.
Well, yeah, because you had already sent your daughter to bed. Now, see, for me, on the other hand, I mean, so I had multiple problems with this particular match, right? So the biggest one, the one that stands out the most, is the syringe. The shot, because I remember when he pulled it out and I said, "Oh my God, is that a syringe?"
Yep.
And I remember immediately you were like, "No, why?" And I'm like, "No, that's a syringe." And the first thing I'm thinking is, if there's any addicts out there watching this, and it's AEW, so damn sure some addicts out there watching. They're triggered like hell right now. I was like, oh my God, they're probably on their way to a meeting right now because they're tripping.
So here's how I looked at the syringe spot, okay? And granted, again, going back to the ECW days, I was a fan of ECW. Huge
Did they ever inject anyone with cocaine or?
No, there was never, not to my knowledge. I don't ever remember anything revolving around a hypodermic needle.
Okay.
In any storyline, any spot.
So that should probably be where the line is drawn. Even by ECW standards, that's where the line was drawn.
Here's where I'm okay with it though.
Okay.
What else were these guys going to do to top what they've already done?
So right, and that leads me right into where I'm already going now. At the end of the match, they did the high spot. They did the perfect spot to end the match, and what they do? Mm-hmm. They kicked out for the sake of doing a damn chair shot. Now therein lies my second problem with the match. Why? We just talked about 30 years ago. We didn't have the knowledge that we have now, and we knew. Right. A chair shot was probably not the best, thing to have happen to a human skull, right?
Right.
We didn't know that. 30 years later, we know beyond a shadow of a doubt, head injuries are one of the, biggest problems that athletes suffer from, the long-term effects that it had. And I get it. They said, the chair was gimmicked and blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, it was completely unnecessary because they had already set up the perfect ending to the match literally 2 moves before the damn chair shot. B, it's reckless, dangerous, unnecessary. There's no reason to to crack somebody over the head with a steel chair after all the other punishment and stuff that he took. Why did that move particularly end up being the particular one that beat him out of everything? He stapled his own chest he stapled his heart shut, for Christ's sake.
Right.
Why now is the chair shot across the head, which we saw thousands of over the years? Why is that the knockout blow?
I'm going to play Two-Face on you real quick.
Okay.
You ready? I'm going to play Two-Face. I'm going to speak out of both sides of my mouth, as old folks would say.
All right.
So
a politician.
A politician.
All right.
So why do I say I have no problem with that chair shot? Because I just made a statement. I didn't have a problem with anything in that match.
Right. Chair shot included.
Why didn't I have a problem with that chair shot? Would you agree or disagree that the cinder block that they put in that match was a live, real cinder block?
Yeah, that was a mess. That was dangerous.
Okay. I saw my man pick Swerve up, powerbomb him onto that cinder block.
Yeah.
Knowing what I know about spinal injuries.
Yeah.
Granted, we had this discussion during the match. These dudes do shit like that all the time. Yeah. Land on their back, do all kinds of funky stuff.
They're trained to bump.
They're trained to bump. I don't care how much you train to bump on something that's going to cause the curvature of your spine to do that when it lands on it.
Yeah.
And if you go back because I actually, when I got back home, I looked at how that man hit that. Mm-hmm. That was a flat back bump.
Yeah, he took it. Yeah, he ate it. He ate all of it.
He ate it.
Now, when Hangman hit it, he kind of scraped off of it, and you saw that nasty-ass bruise left on his back.
Now, so being that's in the conversation, right?
Yeah.
How can I say that I have a problem with the chair shot, but I don't have a problem with that? Because in my mind, that cinder block spot was more dangerous than the chair shot.
So how many times have you seen a power bomb on the concrete floor?
I hate those too.
No difference.
I hate them on the ring apron.
Right. I was going to say on the edge of the apron, the hardest part of the ring.
On the steel stairs. I hate those.
But those are the same difference, right? So you see that. So if you would have a spot, a problem with the cinder block spot, well, you got a problem with the majority of wrestling, right? So at that point, you need to watch boxing.
So, but my argument is I don't have a problem with the cinder block spot. I'm just saying, you can't look at the chair shot and again go down the CTE route and look at the the cinder block spot and not go down the spinal cord injury route.
True, but
it's all an injury. It's all the same.
So here's the thing.
But
a spinal cord injury you can fix, right? You can repair.
Wait a minute.
You ain't repairing CTE.
Remember, I'm supposed to talk out of both sides of the mouth.
Gotcha.
Hold on. Now I got to spin and I got to talk about the other side.
Great. Point, counterpoint out of one person.
The problem that I do have with the chair shot is the copycats. That's my problem, because I think AEW might have set a precedence, even though the chair was gimmicked. Okay, we've seen a gimmick chair go bad before in AEW.
Yeah.
Cody Rhodes felt that gimmick chair go bad before.
He ate all of that.
He ate all that chair. So knowing
that knocked him so silly, he went back home to WWE.
Went back to WWE.
So good job, AEW.
So knowing what I know about how copycat syndrome works, because I mean, not to get dark for a minute, but damn, you see one school shooting, I mean, the next 3 days you're going to see two more because it's copycat.
Yeah,
people trying to make a name for themselves. Right. Yeah. So you see somebody splatter somebody's brains with a chair, that's the cool thing to do again.
Yeah.
So that's where my problem is with it. Is it good for the business overall? No, it's not. Because again, I'm going to follow your path now, knowing what we know about CTE and everything else that comes with that. These guys should have been done quit hitting themselves in the head with chairs long time ago.
I mean, and for the most part, they are, right? Like you only see it every now and again, you know, when it's 100%
I don't even like it. I don't even like it when they throw the chair at somebody's face.
Same difference, right? Almost, because if you miss, you know, if you catch the corner of it, anything like that, you're right in the same thing. So same difference. But my whole thing is, you know, in that match, it wasn't necessary. Had they not done the ultimate finish right before it, and they only did the chair shot, and that was the only thing that could knock the guy out, okay, I could see it at that point. At that point, I wouldn't have had a problem with it. The reason I had a problem with it is just for that, and we had it earlier in the night, too. I think in the Bryan Danielson match. The perfect finish was set up. Yeah. And instead of just going with it and letting the crowd, you know, be on there, you know, they were at full 10, right?
Right.
Well, when you kick out and you ruin that, I mean, that crowd, obviously the energy gets pulled right out of that crowd. So they were at 10 and now you dropped them down to 2.
Yep.
Well, then you wrap it up like 2-3 moves later. That doesn't even give them enough time to get back up to 10. The best they can get to is like a 6.
All right.
So now you're ending your match with your crowd at a 6 when you had them at a 10 and they were ready to explode out of the building. And now it's like a slow fart in church.
So let me also wrap you up into a part of this that you would have only seen if you were in the building. And I didn't find out about it until a couple of days later when I was on AEW's YouTube channel and you see the video that they released. So Hangman, at the end of this match, after the cage raises, Hangman walks back to the entrance tunnel. And this is where, to me, all of what transpired in the ring makes sense. But again, AEW production, you didn't catch it on camera. The casual fan doesn't know.
Right.
So
we only saw it because we were heading back to press after that.
So as the cage lifted, Hangman walks out of the ring. He walks halfway up the ramp and turns around. And when he turns around, he looks back towards the ring. And you can tell Hangman is not the same Hangman that we know. Mm-hmm. Yes, we know Hangman to be violent. We know the cowboy shit, but this is also the Hangman that we know that comes out wearing Virginia is for Lovers t-shirts.
Yeah.
So
father of a child.
A child. So this Hangman has snapped. He is unhinged, right? Mm-hmm. So he walks halfway up the ramp, turns around, looks back, and starts going back to the ring. Mm-hmm. Insinuated he's not done.
Yeah.
The crowd started yelling, "No, do not get, no." That like the crowd was yelling like they wanted Swerve to be like, that needs to be done.
Yeah,
right.
We're done.
Right. So he falls to his knees. You see the look on Hangman's eyes. He is unhinged. He gets up. And this is where they did a disservice to their fans for not showing this on TV. Mm-hmm. He gets up, walks to the top of the entrance ramp, almost steps into the babyface tunnel, and he stops.
Yeah,
and he stares at it, and then he looks up and goes the other way. Yeah. And that is the first time in Hangman's career that he has left through the heel tunnel.
Yeah, he made it. So tell me though, when he turned around and looked back, didn't you want him to just throw his fist up and just kind of,
like the Undertaker?
Just give you an Undertaker salute.
Undertaker-esque.
You kind of wanted it. But again, like you said, why do that if you're not going to? I mean, I get it. They've got a lot of TV and you want to tease for TV. You have people that paid a lot of money to come to this show, buy a ticket. You had people that paid a lot of money to buy this shit on pay-per-view, right? You don't carry an angle from that into the TV and leave these people that paid all this money, hanging. Because now they're out there talking about it. All of us that were in the building, we're out here talking about it on our shows and with our friends and blah, blah. Well, other people have no fucking clue what you're talking about. Unless they go dig around on the internet to find clips of it or footage, they have no idea what you're talking about. And here we are 3-4 days later, before anybody even gets to see it, and behind the scenes, we're recording on Wednesday before Dynamite, so we don't know if it's going to come on TV.
We don't know.
Tonight.
We don't know what's happening.
It may never surface. It may, it may always be lore that, much like the whole Brawl Out thing, where you never really heard about it, but if you were there, you knew. Or if you had the inside track, you saw. But if you were just a casual fan, you only half knew about it because you heard vaguely. And then Tony all of a sudden decides, well, I'm going to broadcast it on the show. That lay fan, that casual fan still doesn't have no clue what he's watching. He's like, okay, what is this? Because they can't get into, the depths of explaining it. They're just going to show it. No, well, this is what happened with Jack Perry and somebody. Oh, what the hell?
Now, here's what's cool, though. Here's what's cool. And I know where, Frank, where your distaste is for this. But as a fan of ECW back in the day, I know what this feud is.
The blow off. It's over.
No.
Yes.
No. These two men will literally, as the fans like to chant, they will fight forever.
Well, that's what the video game was called, too. How'd that turn out?
They are mortal enemies, and here's why I know this. As an ECW fan, Raven, Tommy Dreamer, all of that was built-in rivalry. Put them in the ring together today, they're rivals. I don't care. Yeah,
put them in the ring together.
They're old men.
They're overweight. They're disabled.
But also, you look at Sandman, Mikey Whipwreck.
Who?
Again, ECW. They are all the way rivals. You will never see those two dudes end up on the same team.
All right, so I got one question to ask before we close out. I know we're closing out soon, but I got one question to ask you, and it's from an ECW original. It's from an ECW alum.
Yep.
It's a quote that he once heard from the original ECW leader, the original hardcore legend himself, Mick Foley.
Mm-hmm.
All that shit that all these guys that you just brought up from 30 years ago and that we just brought up from 30 hours ago, all the shit that they did their checks get any bigger when they went to the pay window that night?
No, but I got a counter to that point.
Let's start with the first part. What was the first part of that answer?
What? No,
exactly. They didn't make a nickel out of all that shit that they put their bodies through. And now you got guys like Mikey Whipwreck and Tommy Dreamer and Raven and who's the other guy? Sandman. They're all out here doing GoFundMes for their surgery because of all that dumb shit they did 30 years ago.
Here is the counter.
There's no counter to that. They're doing GoFundMes to get their surgeries done because they killed themselves.
Why was ECW the way ECW was?
Because they couldn't be anything else.
They were a disruptor. Paul Heyman's only plan as ECW was to be a disruption in the world of professional wrestling.
Okay. That
was his plan.
True.
It did not matter if it worked. It did not matter because Paul, and again, you've probably heard me say this before. The Joker is the Joker because why? The Joker is the Joker because he is a man that just wants to watch the world burn. Yeah. He has no rhyme or reason for it. Yeah. He doesn't care if he ever accomplishes that goal.
Right.
He's still going to pursue that goal. Paul Heyman with ECW, that was his goal. He wanted to disrupt the industry. If Tony Khan is smart, he sees a sinking battleship when he sees it. This is how you change course, disrupt the industry, and go back. And even though you're pulling the play card right out of the ECW playbook, how many podcasts did we do before we even talked about AEW? And now we've talked about AEW 2 podcasts within the same month.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, he's starting to disrupt.
I see where you're going with that.
It's starting to happen.
But let me ask you a last question before we turn it down here. out of everybody in that ECW locker room, everybody affiliated with it, who was the only one that came out none the worse for wear?
Paul Heyman.
Paul Heyman. Exactly. That's the
Paul Heyman.
And on the other end of whatever the future holds for AEW, who's the only person that's guaranteed to come out none the worse for wear?
Tony Khan.
Exactly. All these guys out here killing themselves and all that.
I feel
they ain't got the bank account that these guys got.
Yep.
Take care of yourselves, guys.
Yep. All right. So always good discussion on that topic. Drop us a line on our social media platforms to let us know what you think about this. Was it in good taste? Should it have not been shown? Should they do it again? Let us know your thoughts. But with always, we thank you for listening to our show and we bid you adieu.
Take care.
Today's podcast was produced by SBP. You can find our podcast on all major podcast platforms. Also, connect with us on our social media accounts. Search for The Bookers Alliance on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and X.